Hello, welcome to the Colour Blue podcast post-match reaction. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson, joined by Matt Kendrick in his scarf. Matt, how are you? Cold?
I'm like the snowman that refuses to melt. Can you hear me? Did I just? I heard a funny boinging on my screen. That's a really bad start.
No. I can hear you. I can see you. You okay?
Yeah, go on. It's going to be one of those disjointed days.
I'll tell you what, before we do start, and I didn't tell you this on air before we started, because I thought if I did tell you before we start, you would say no to doing the show. I've had new Wi-Fi. So this is the first time I've tried it doing a stream, so I might disconnect for 10 minutes and you have to fill time maybe if you're comfortable doing something like that.
Just trying to think. I'm looking around for props, something I could read through or something, but yeah, don't jinx it, mate. Don't tempt fate.
No, fingers crossed it should be all good. This is my first proper test of new Wi-Fi, so fingers crossed you can see and hear me okay. We're here, of course, to talk about Aston Villa 3, Burnley 2. I think we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief, can't we now, Matt? 42 points should be safe for next year.
It's just remarkable, isn't it? I think, the little moments of frustration during today's game and obviously during the last couple of games that haven't gone our way. I don't want to become one of those spoilt, entitled.
Oh, I've lost your visuals. No, your audio. This is great, isn't it? Let's read some comments while Matt finally sorts his life out. Pinch yourselves, we are joint top tonight, says Josh. We'll talk about the joint top thing in a bit because I don't like it. Here he is, he's back. I'm going to read some comments while you sort yourself out.
Can you hear me?
A pretty win. I can hear you now, yeah. Don't interrupt while I'm reading the comments.
Sorry,
not a pretty win, says Liam, but 3 points is 3 points. Brett Riverboat says this is without doubt the biggest win of the season. A few people saying hello, good evening, etc. Hello, everyone. Hello, Matt. Are you with me? Are you here?
I'm here for now.
Okay. What happened? Did you press something?
I think it was my little wireless mouse started to take on a life of its own. But anyway, what are we talking about?
We're talking about 42 points for Aston Villa at the halfway point of the season and how good that is. And I've lost you again. This is a joke. I'm just going to have to do this on my own, at this point. If people want to get involved in the comments with their opinions, I will read some of them out. I've tempted fate here, haven't I, by joking about my Wi-Fi at the start and now being treated like this in return. We will flash up the Premier League table and talk through that whilst Matt sorts himself out. How can we not show it? 42 points, Liverpool first. Aston Villa, 42 points, second. Only second on goal difference. Man City in third, 19 played, 40 points. Same with Arsenal, 19 played, 40 points. Yeah, this is ridiculous, isn't it? I think Matt filled pretty well the last time this happened for me, but I'm not as good at Matt as winging things. But yeah, here we are. 42 points for Villa. I'll talk about the joint top thing on my own because this is my own little bugbear. I'll get out of the way while Matt sorts himself out. For the audio version, I will try and edit around this, but it's Christmas, so I might just have to leave it as it is. The joint top thing, I don't really like that. And I know people are going to say that that's just me moaning and being silly and that kind of thing, but we're not joint top, are we? We're second. If the season ended right this second, Villa would be second. We wouldn't split the trophy with Liverpool. We're not joint top in the sense that, we have half a Premier League trophy each. We are second based off goal difference. That's what goal difference is there for, to split the difference when you're level on points. So we're matching the points of second place, but we're not joint top, are we, Matt? We're second.
Oh, you jinxed it, didn't you? It's so funny that you were the one who had to waffle on about what you've just been doing, talking everybody through the league table.
Yeah, I just read out the league table. My own little bugbear is that this joint top thing, not really joint top, are we? We're second. We wouldn't share the trophy if the season ended right this second.
Oh, you're such a Scrooge, aren't you?
No, what made me think of that? The football cliches podcast. Are you aware of this?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, but some of the things, I don't listen to all of them, but I'll follow them on Twitter. And some of the things that they mention is right up our street, I think, for little moans about football, like whether a football club should be capitalised with a C, that kind of thing. Nerdy, boring stuff. Yeah, you've got one of yours. Mine is joint top, not being a thing. We're second. I'm aware that's very moany, very Scroogey, but yeah, joint second. No, we're not even joint second. We are second.
Do you know why you've got me? Do you know the thing that annoys me as well? When football clubs parade exclusive interviews with their own players.
Yeah, like, of course it's not an exclusive.
It's like me speaking to you because you're my work colleague. This isn't exclusive. With you, Dan.
We're not friends.
Oh, depends. Let's see how it goes. See how the next half an hour go.
If we can get through the next half an hour, that'd be lovely. Let's talk about some football, hopefully. What did you make of today, just overall, a kind of general perspective?
I thought it sounds obvious this, but the 3 points was the biggest thing. If a home draw and throwing away a 2-goal lead at Old Trafford can be seen as a rot, then I think we kind of needed the 3 points to stop that rot today. I think it was important. Obviously, we're going to have a couple of weeks before we're back in Premier League action, so I think it was important to kind of lay down a marker and just show that, you know, even when we have got several players missing around the edges, we've still got the ability to dig out wins in difficult ways. I didn't think it was going to come. I thought it was going to be one of those days. I thought it was going to be another Sheffield United, to be honest. But God bless him, big John Duran has come on and played his part in the kind of pivotal moment. And even then, I mean, Douglas Luiz, how long did he take to?
It's a long time, wasn't it?
Blown his whistle. Then Douglas Luiz has taken another 34 minutes to compose himself. And, you know, I'm a natural born pessimist, but I thought, I saw it clip the bar. I thought, oh no, where's it going to go? Where's it going to go? But so it was one of those ones where we probably made it more dramatic than it needed to be. But we got the job done ultimately. And, you know, I think it's kind of, you know, we've all been a little bit disappointed, haven't we, over Christmas, given the standards that our Villa team have set. You know, put a little bit of a bow back on it, I think.
I think getting the job done is the key kind of phrase, I guess, for me, that we got to kind of did what we had to do. You know, I'm not really that bothered that the performance wasn't the best thing ever. The 3 points was massively important given the last 2 games. I touch on Kamara again in a second. Me and Rob Warner did the podcast for Man United. Obviously, very bitterly disappointed given the way that went, and because it's Man United, they're losing to Forest, by the way, as we speak, which is whatever. I would love to have beaten them. I would love to have beat Sheffield United. You know, if we'd got one more point than we did out of those games, we would be top outright now. None of this joint top nonsense. Let's actually mention Kamara then quickly while we're here. What did you make of that when he got sent off against Brentford? I don't know about whether you did that podcast. I can't remember, but we talked about the head loss of the moment, and people talked about him backing up his teammates and showing a bit of fight and whatnot. As I was of the perspective that I'd rather he was on the pitch for us in the next few games because he's so important. Now, this is a retrospective kind of what if moment. But I think we'd have got more than 1 point out of Sheffield United and Man United if Kamara was playing, and we would be top now. And that's frustrating.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put it all on him. And I wasn't kind of when it happened, I wasn't as doom and gloom as everybody else. I thought we'd still have enough in reserve. I think in hindsight, I do think we've missed him. And I think as a wider point, I felt it was really interesting on what day was Boxing Day? Was it Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting after United with Unai Emery's kind of serial killer kind of beard scratching interview where he was absolutely seething behind the eyes, but still was very didn't blame anything, didn't, just kind of took responsibility for the performance. I'm just a little bit worried, little bits of petulance in danger of creeping in. I think Konza got booked for dissent today. Jacob Ramsey got involved in a little bit of a kind of fisticuffs as well after the penalty was given. And it's things.
Was he backing up his brother in that moment, do you think? That's what I've seen on social media this evening a little bit, that obviously Aaron Ramsey gave away the penalty. Yeah. And I think whoever the Burnley player was that Jacob Ramsey was having a go at, people are speculating that the Burnley player was kind of having a go at Aaron Ramsey for giving away the penalty, and Jacob Ramsey stepped in to defend his little brother, weirdly. It's obviously the family element, but they're playing against each other, and then he's booked for that little moment. Do you think that was the case, or people reading too much into it?
I didn't see what sparked it, but that's as good a reason as any. But it's those little things where you get a yellow card here. Obviously, Martinez has picked up another yellow card for time wasting, and it's in isolation, those things are fine. But if they start to mount up, we've seen that the squad, if we wanted them to challenge on 3 fronts now in Europe, in the Premier League, and when the FA Cup starts next weekend, we haven't got that depth. So we're going to get injuries along the way. If we can avoid suspensions where possible, or silly suspensions, people will get booked, and mistiming tackles and that kind of thing. But I don't think we need those silly ones. And I think when the manager is setting such a good example of, we've seen other managers and other dressing rooms who come out and whine and moan and are petulant and blame the whole world and never accept responsibility. I think Villa's players owe it to their manager to make sure they're not getting involved in those silly moments.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just want to give a shout out is not the right word, but a shout out to the month that we've just got through as Aston Villa. There's a little bit, actually very negative in the YouTube and Facebook comments on Boxing Day after Man United. And I think some of that was heightened by the fact of it was against Man United and people dislike Man United and we were winning and threw it away and whatnot. But there was a lot of embarrassing, shambolic, really emotive, strong words for what was one 90-minute performance over the course of a season that's been brilliant, let's face it. From Tom Nightingale on Twitter, who shared this before. Villa have played 10 games in the last 35 days, with injuries and suspensions building. It's 17 points from 24 in the league, 4 points from 6 in Europe in that run, and just 1 defeat in 10. And at the end of it, we're top of our European group and temporarily joint top second in the Premier League. So as much as that Man United blip happened and Sheffield United happened, and that felt like, as you said before, a mini rut, as mad as that is, it's 1 defeat in 10 in a really, really busy part of the season. It's FA Cup next weekend, which there will be rotation, whether you like it or not. I think it's something like 14 or 15 days till our next Premier League game. Everton, I think it's like 3 games in January or something silly, because there's a week break, isn't there, as well? So we've kind of got through that really difficult part of the season. And yes, dropping points to Sheffield United at home is not good. Dropping points when you're 2-0 up against Man United is not good. But we're still unbeaten at home now, aren't we? Is it 17 games now with the win today? And overall, we've done very, very well, haven't we?
So it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because with this, the standards are so high that they've almost kind of, Unai and the team are almost kind of victims of their own success now, because we're holding them to a higher standard, and sometimes it needs us to step back and to look at stuff in the bigger picture way. I mean, that those stats that you just read out, we all know it, but in a moment where a player makes a bad decision or gives a ball away, or we can see the goal. We're not used to this. We conceded straight after we scored today, and we thought we'd kind of eradicated that because Emery's so big on control and being in control in those kind of big moments. And so, yeah, I think the interesting thing that I found today, I think it's been fairly good through most of the season, actually, is that when there have been difficult moments, Villa Park found another level, another voice. And whereas before you could probably, I don't think any fans would have done it deliberately, but you could sense that almost kind of claustrophobic atmosphere when things have gone wrong under previous regimes. I think we've got so much trust in this one, and it's happened so quickly and so spectacularly that we know we've got to do our bit. So, I think when they scored the second equaliser today, there was another kind of loud roar from the whole end of the stiff to say, come on, we've got to do our bit to get us over the line again. And I think that's almost like a kind of metaphor for where we are at the moment. There's going to be these wrinkles, bumps in the road, whatever you call them. But as long as we don't all kind of lose our heads during them, then, we've got a manager and a squad who are capable of kind of rolling with it, really, and getting us through the other side of it in good shape.
Yeah, and whilst we're still in a title race or the quest for Champions League qualification or whatever the target is for this season, at this time of year particularly, you see strange results, don't you? You see teams losing points when you think they should be winning. The whole meltdown we had on Boxing Day when we lost to Man United, 2 days later, Brighton beat Spurs and West Ham beat Arsenal on the same night. And sides around us dropped points as well. Newcastle lost to Forest, was it? And then Luton as well. So as much as we talk about where we are, the points gap we've got to those behind us is still good, given results that have gone for us as well. So whilst it's probably easy to be a little bit doom and gloom when you have a result go against you, and we had 2 back-to-back with Sheffield and Man United, Sheffield United and Man United. If you bounce back and beat Burnley, as we have done, and we probably almost didn't get there in the end, and as we said, the performance wasn't great, and maybe more people will delve into that and look at what went wrong and what went right. For me, though, it was all just about that 3 points, winning again at home, getting the 3 points, going joint top, going second, and getting to 42 points. And like Emery said, the target now is to get to 45. We have Everton next. We go and get 45 points, and that's all we have to do now. Keep chipping away, keep winning games, and the worst case scenarios is you match the results of the teams around you, and you're not going to drop out the top four.
Yeah, but every club's going to have if only moments, aren't they? Where we should have won that one and we expected to win that one.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
with the Aston Villa team is they've won lots of matches that we didn't expect them to win. So if we drop, it felt it's weird. It felt worse the not beating Sheffield United and then throwing away a 2-goal lead to lose at Man United because we're so unused to that feeling. We're used to kind of winning most weeks or every other week that it felt I had to go back to kind of not quite to the Gerrard time because it was nothing like that in terms of the football that we played or whatever, but it was like, Christ, I forgot what this I forgot this was a feeling that's associated with Aston Villa. I thought Aston Villa was all about euphoria. I forgot that there was this pain involved, so I don't think that's a bad reminder.
Is this like when you won a couple of, I say you as if you were involved, when we won a couple of, I say we as like we were involved, but Aston Villa won 2 trophies in the 90s and you kind of thought, well, we'll win trophies every couple of seasons then. And then you were hit with harsh reality of the 2000s.
Well, yes, so I've had harsh reality of about 25 years dealing with that. And then I've had harsh reality of about 48 hours.
Yeah. So how quickly you get used to winning, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice, isn't it? And you can see like fan bases that how that sense of entitlement creeps upon them really quickly, and then how dare opponents try and beat us, and how dare referee decisions go against us, and that kind of thing. So we need to keep it real, Dan. That's our job here.
Yeah, we'll do our best. There's a comment here, just as you mentioned, like other fan bases from King81. Is can you discuss how rattled the traditional Big Six club fan bases are with others right now? They're all over social media like big babies, constantly crying about how rubbish Little Villa are. I absolutely love it. And I'm inclined to agree. I quite like it as well. Like when we're dropping points and you've got Arsenal fans talking about typical Unai Emery and all this kind of stuff. It's like, come on. Like he'll be found out eventually. They'll drop off at some point. We've seen no evidence of that at Aston Villa so far, so we've got every right to be getting kind of carried away with what we've seen. But other clubs' fan bases are looking at Villa of like, oh, Villa have lost. That's a good thing. Like Man City fans like expecting us to win, and when we drop points, they're happy with that. These clubs have not been bothered about Aston Villa for years and years, and it's nice to be on the other end of that we're being looked at our results to see how it affects them, rather than someone like Burnley or Sheffield United going, oh, Villa have lost, that's a good thing for us to stay in the league. It's now the big boys that are looking at us and going, we want Villa to lose at some point because they're a threat.
Well, it makes a change, doesn't it? It wasn't that long ago we were having kind of petty spats with Rotherham fans or
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Derby fans or whatever. So if the so-called elite a little bit rattled because we got under their skin, then yeah, that to me, that's not what it's all about. It's all about Aston Villa and enjoying Aston Villa, but that's a kind of an amusing byproduct of it all. If everybody else is getting the knickers in a twist.
So underutilised phrase, isn't it? Certainly on a football podcast, getting the knickers in a twist. Let's talk about some match-specific moments then from today. Let's talk about Ollie Watkins a little bit. Again, I've seen some criticism of him for not scoring goals. He's got 8 assists now in the Premier League, which is the most. I don't know whether it's the joint most or whether it's the most outright. I think he's got 9 goals as well, maybe 8 goals. So he's providing and scoring. And if he doesn't score, he tends to provide. And if it's not the assist, he's involved in the build-up play. But 2 assists for him outright today, involved in everything. Just talk to me a little bit about him and the kind of all-round game that he's got now.
Yeah, I want him kind of wrapped up in cotton wool, I think, because I think he's one of the players that, I don't want to jinx it or tempt fate, but I don't think we can cope without him at the moment. Obviously John Duran comes on and runs around enthusiastically, but he's not at the stage of his development where he can do the role that Ollie Watkins does.
No, not many players can, though, to be fair.
No, and it is, and I think we owe a lot of credit to Dean Smith and for making sure that he went back and signed him and recognised that there's a Premier League player in there. And then we owe a kind of debt of credit to Unai Emery for almost kind of rough, smoothing off some of the rough edges and making sure that his contributions were resulting, like you say, in assists or goals, and making sure he's doing a lot of his work in the right areas of the pitch. But I think, I was one of those ones. I think he had a header towards goal that he didn't keep down in the second half, and you're thinking, oh come on, you've got to be better with that, and then conveniently forgetting that he has created the 2 goals that we'd scored up to that point. And I think the good thing about Watkins is that I still think there's for improvement. I think he learns. I think he listens. I think he tries to absorb information that's given to him. And if we've got one of the best in the business who's giving him that information, I think he can get even better. I do worry. I say better. I think he can get even better. Sorry, my pronunciation wasn't great then. What was I going to say? I do worry about burnout for him. To be honest, I think we ask an awful lot of him. I'm sure as the podcast and the weeks will go by, I'm sure we'll be doing more talk about what Villa should do in January, and what positions we need to strengthen, and who are potential options that we can get. I do think we need another striker, but
Emery said we don't, didn't he? I think.
Say again.
Emery said yesterday that we didn't, did he? Or that who is it?
I don't think we need another striker. I'm just worried about the kind of burden on him, and I think if anything does happen to him, I think if we've got somebody else in reserve alongside John Duran, then it stops an injury or suspension to Ollie Watkins becoming catastrophic. I think if there's the opportunity to bring some more cover in, then I'd do it. But we'll see. Like I said, if Emery thinks not, then we'll trust Emery.
Yeah, I'd suspect Bailey and Diaby would play up front if it was just a short-term thing, like a one-game suspension, and you'd hope that would come against somebody who you might, get away with it a little bit, somebody lesser quality, effectively. The history tells us that he doesn't get many injuries, and he's very fit, and he's not missed many games through injury in his entire career. And obviously, we'd hope that stays the way in terms of like the general muscle fatigue injuries or anything like that, or getting a knock and running it off and hopefully being okay. But any player can get a freak injury from a tackle or twist a knee running on a certain type of pitch or whatever. And it's those kind of things that you can't account for. But I suppose the other side of the argument is, how would you do that for any players? Douglas Luiz missing for a long period of time for a freak injury would be terrible. Emi Martinez, Ezri Konsa, you can't stockpile 25 top quality players, because then you end up with a situation where with your main 11 are fit, you've got 11, 12 players to fit in of equal quality that aren't going to be happy to be the backup squad. So it's finding a real balance, isn't it, between top quality performers, but also when you sign those players, who is out there at the moment who's better than the players we've already got who will be available in January? Not many. And if it is, how much are we going to have to pay for that in this market? So I think if you can get some smart business done by a loan signing, maybe somebody Emery's worked with before or something like that, I think that would make sense. Or a kind of Moreno signing of last year, somebody who most of us won't be aware of or won't have seen play very much, but Emery knows can do a certain job in a certain role. That's the kind of sign I think we'll see. Like people asking for a big kind of, not this player obviously, but like a Tammy Abraham kind of 50 million striker. That's not going to happen. Certainly not in January, in my opinion, at least. Let's talk about Diaby very quickly.
It's one of those ones where the size of the prize, isn't it? If we thought that the one piece of the jigsaw or whatever was the difference between us finishing the Champions League places and not. And although that's probably come a year ahead of schedule, I think pretty much what Emery wants, Emery gets, and with some justification. So if he's saying I don't need a striker, then obviously that's not going to be, unless he's just playing us all, and behind the back he is asking for a striker. But I think if it comes to whatever stage in January, and as a committee, if you like, or Emery and his team and the board around him, if they think that those couple of additions can be the difference between us really, like I say, being ahead of schedule and getting into that top four, I think they'll do it. Whether they can find the players that would enable them to do that, I don't know. But yeah, I think the question was about Ollie Watkins. I think he's brilliant. I think, like you said, the numbers speak for themselves, don't they?
Let's talk about Diaby quickly. Nathan Parker says Diaby could or should have had 4 goals today, and a lot of players putting them well over the bar. like we're playing a different sport at some stage, and you thought this is going to be one of those ones where Villa don't take their chances and drop points. And obviously, thank God that didn't happen, thanks to a very cool, calm, collected penalty from Luiz at the end. But Diaby gets his goal. It's been a long time coming, it feels like. But again, probably should have done more, should have done this, should have done that. What do you make of him overall? I think I probably asked you this before, but he kind of burst onto the scene. We signed him and looked very good from the off. Then he had a bit of a quiet period, but he still is involved to a degree. How do you assess him?
I like him. I must admit, I like him. I think I get excited when he's on the ball. I think he's finishing. He seemed to be trying to stick everything in the top corner today, other than the one that he scored, which was kind of tucked away into the bottom corner. It's funny, isn't it? Because he's actually probably had more of an impact on the team by sparking Leon Bailey into life than anything he's done himself. So, certainly since the opening fixtures of the season, where he really arrived on the scene, like you say, like a real live wire. You know, it's one of those ones. I was chatting to the fella next to me at half time, saying, "I'm not quite sure, about having Diaby and Bailey in the same team." And he said, "Well, Matt, they both scored, so they're not doing. It's not working too badly at the moment." I don't know. What do you think about him? Was your question loaded that you think he's kind of underachieving a little bit, or?
No, I don't think so. I'm with you. I agree with everything you've said. I think he's underachieving in the sense that Watkins and Bailey are playing better than him, or have got better output than him. But it's his first season with us, isn't it? I think people are probably projecting him to have a similar impact that Bailey's had, that he has an okay first year, and we want more from him next season. I think that would be absolutely fair. And whilst Villa are second in the Premier League and doing what they're doing, you can't dig him out and saying he's not good enough or he needs replacing or anything silly like that. These things take time to bed in, and there's obviously a very talented player in there. But I suppose if the goals are coming from elsewhere, we can kind of get away with Moussa Diaby having a quiet game here and there. It's if we were fully dependent on him in the case of an Ollie Watkins injury, for example, like I mentioned before, maybe then you would worry a little bit that has he got the finishing ability to score goals consistently week in, week out. But again, maybe if he was the main man, he would burden that responsibility well. I just think it'll take time for us to see the best of Moussa Diaby, and he will be, he will get that time, won't he? We're not going to be shipping him out in the summer because he didn't have a great season this year or anything like that.
Yeah, I think I don't think this team and this squad carries players either. I think you're in that team, you're in around it because you contribute to the team. And I think there was a moment today, it must have been in the first half, I think, where he's kind of tracked back and been quite physical and won the ball back on a halfway line, and then sparked us off, got the crowd going, sparked us off, and been on the front foot. And I can't remember whether the move fizzled out or whatever, but I get the sense that, like I said, he still grafts, he still noticed him, he still wants the ball. Somebody saying in the comments that I think he saying that they thought he linked well with Bailey today. I can't dispute that. I actually wondered if, when they went down to 10, whether he'd try and separate them a little bit more and try and kind of go at them from either flank. But kind of Emery knows best, and nice things to have, aren't they? And I don't want to get into the habit of digging out too many of the kind of teams, perhaps the Dean Smith teams that have kept us in the Premier League by the skin of our teeth. But we've got Leon Bailey and Moussa Diaby now, and I think they're obviously an upgrade on Trezeguet, on Traore, on El Ghazi. Although having said that, El Ghazi's numbers used to be pretty decent, didn't they? For a team struggling down the bottom of the table.
Yeah. Good on penalties as well. As you were talking then, I was listening, but I just quickly watched the highlights on the Sky Sports YouTube channel again. I know we've already talked about Watkins, but he did very well for those assists as well. Like, it's not just like, if you've not seen the game and he got 2 assists, you think, oh, he's just, it's a simple pass kind of thing. He's worked hard for both of them. The first one is, I thought we went long a little bit more than we usually do. And again, obviously, there was a reason for that. Diaby. Watkins goes down that left channel and does very well to get back onto his right foot, bursts into the box and puts the ball over for Bailey, which is a really nice finish as well. It's a really kind of nice goal. But the second one, he kind of curves his run to stay on side, and I think they did check it as well. And it was tight, I think, from the looks of the replay. But he does very well to work hard down the right-hand side then and cut in on the other side and play it across to Diaby. So, this isn't just Ollie Watkins getting assists because he's in the box and it's bouncing off him and he's just playing a 2-yard pass to somebody and they're scoring. He's working really hard and has got the quality to find a man as well. So, I know we've just spoken about him, but they probably go under the radar a little bit. He's done really well for both of those assists. He's really had to earn them.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is where the Watkins playing with better players and being coached by Unai Emery every day. I think, there's been times, hasn't there, where you've thought, well, there's been intricate play around him, and then either he's miscontrolled it or he hasn't picked the right pass. And that's still going to happen. That still happens with all players. But I get little signs that things are clicking. His role as we know he's become more of a goal scorer, if you like. We know he's become doing more of his work in the centre of the pitch, in the centre third of the pitch, if you like. But I think he's actually evolving as a link man now as well. I think people are trusting him with the ball more. I think he seems to be better. I'll tempt fate now. The ball will bounce off him next time he plays. But I think he's just becoming a better all-round player, Dan, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. He's coming into his prime now, isn't he? This is birthday today, isn't it, as well, by the way? So, Ollie, if you're watching, many happy returns.
How old is he?
I don't know. I want to say 29 off the top of my head, but I feel like it might be 28. He's 28. He was born the same year as me, 30th of December, 95. So, yeah, he's 28.
He's 28 and a half. He's 29, is he?
He's 28 till he's 29. Yeah, I think that's enough for Burnley specifically. Obviously, there's talking much with the penalty. Was it soft or not? Yeah, probably. But we're on the benefit of a soft decision for a change. I think if that was given against us, I probably would be upset with how soft it is. But the law is the law, and that's what it is. Forest are winning 2-1 now, by the way, for people who are watching along with us. They went, Man United equalised and Forest scored again on the 82nd minute. I think that's into 10 minutes of injury time, someone says there in the comments. Whether that's true or not. If they can hold on, that's obviously great for Villa.
And bridging that gap. The Man United Forest game, isn't it? If you come into our podcast just for updates from there.
That would put Villa in second, 42 points. Man United on 31, 11-point gap on them. Should be more, shouldn't it, with Boxing Day? But if the gap is to 7th place, which is Europa Conference League qualification again, which if Villa finish 7th, I'll be massively disappointed. It's an 11-point swing now for Villa to drop out of European competition for next year, so that's a positive. Just very quickly on that, actually, while we're there. This is probably a whole debate in itself, to be honest. With where Villa are at the moment, and John always says, and he said a lot, and the next time he gets on the podcast, I'll be asking him this. Ask me about the league table after Villa have played everybody once. Ask me after 19 games. It's obviously 20 now. Ask me then what I think of things, because you've played everyone once then. You've got half the season out of the way. You've got through a busy December. Ask me then. Villa are second with 42 points, right? The target now has to be European qualification, the Champions League qualification. I said weeks ago that Villa must do it for a YouTube title, and that was a little bit just what the algorithm works with, but I did kind of feel like they have to do it because of the revenue they get, and yada, yada, yada. We've not clickbait. I actually said it. We made that argument that they kind of have to do it. They're in as good a position as they will ever be to get into the Champions League for next season, and if that's ahead of schedule or whatever, so be it. It's massive for us. If I told you now that Villa finished 6th or even 5th, let's say 5th doesn't get the Champions League. If Villa finished outside of the top 4 and got Europa League next year, would you take that, or would that be a disappointment given where we are now?
Are we talking about their league position in isolation? Not forgetting FA Cup, forgetting Conference League. We're talking about the league position in isolation.
League, if they've won the FA Cup and they won the Conference League and got into Europe that way or whatever, they finish 6th or 5th and get into the Europa League. Is that good or not? Is that disappointing or not?
I think there can be both. I think it can be good and disappointing at the same time. You know what I mean? I think anything less than top 4 would feel like a massive anticlimax now. We felt like an anticlimax because we weren't top of the table by Christmas. So I was missing out on the top 4 would feel like a massive kind of punch in the gut. But that's not to say it will be a failure if we don't do that, because it's hard, isn't it? I think we've been punching above our weight to get to 40. What are we on? 42 points. from 20 games. I don't think we'll get 38 points from our next whatever kind of 18 games or whatever. But we might not
Why?
quite need to. I just
Why
don't.
not?
Don't know whether we will.
Okay.
That's
I
probably
don't
just
think
me
I don't
being.
think Villa are going to drop off. I would be disappointed if we didn't finish in the top four now, just because of where we are at this stage. Obviously, if it goes without saying, if we're looking back on this at the end of the season, Ollie Watkins is injured for 6 months, something stupid, then yeah, obviously you take that into account. But where Villa are now, to not finish inside the top four, I mean, even the gap to fifth place Spurs is now 6 points. I know they've got a game in hand, but even so, like where we are, you've still got to have points on the board. Obviously, Europa League would be a sign of progress because we're currently in the Europa Conference League, and it's one up from that. Obviously, Villa could win that trophy this year and get into the Europa League via that route anyway, and technically finish 8th and be out of European competition, but in the Europa League because they've won that trophy. I get all that, and that is progress. But we've got as far as we've got. We're missing several players. We will talk about Mings and Buendia at the start, but Pau Torres over the last few weeks has been a massive loss. He's so important to the way that we build up. Kamara in the last 3 is a massive loss. Who are the others that we missed? Tielemans has been out for a little bit as well. Moreno's obviously been out for a long time. Ramsey is only just coming back and playing the last 3 or 4 fixtures or whatever it is. So we're here now with this amount of points with those injury lists, and that, people don't really tend to talk about that. The wider national media and whatnot. We hear a lot about Spurs' injury list and Newcastle's injury list. Villa's is comparable to that. So we're only going to get better, I think. I don't see this drop off of Villa having. I know you mentioned burnout, and there is a bit of that, but I don't see Villa dropping off to the degree of finishing outside of the top 4, even certainly not outside of the top 6.
But I think they can still drop off and finish in the top 4.
Yeah, because I don't think the drop off is that drastic. We might lose a 2 or 3 games out of 5.
I think we're going to struggle if we're averaging. So what is it? 42 points from 20 games? What's that? 22 point whatever, whatever it is. I think we could still fall away a little bit and still get the top 4. I think if we're expecting us to if we maintain the form that we've been in for the first half of the season, then we're actually serious title challengers.
Yeah, because you're talking 84 points.
I'm more dubious about that happening than I am about us having the momentum and the quality and the energy to stay in the top 4. I think they're 2 slightly different conversations, to be honest. And I'm probably hedging my bets a little bit because if I get too excited that way, you know what I mean? I'd be gutted now if we do drop out the top 4, but I still don't think. I suppose it would be a failure, wouldn't it? I suppose if you have given yourself that strong position and you don't live up to it, I suppose it would be a failure, but it just seems so harsh to even think about branding it that when none of us would have been like this.
I think if you just said in the summer you'll finish 6th and get Europa League, we'd all go, yeah, fantastic. That's a season of progress. You finished higher than the season before. You're in the next rung of competition in Europe of the season that you're in now. That's progress. But when you're second come the turn of the year, to not finish in the Champions League places would feel really disappointing, obviously, given the various points of context we've just given. If you finish 5th and got into the Europa League, but also won the FA Cup and won the Conference League, of course, that's not a disappointing season. But the league form specifically, where we are now, to not finish in the top 4, to not finish in the top 3 even is a sign of some drop off. Now you're right with the drop off. We've talked about we don't have to do what we've done in the first half of the season, in the second half of the season, to finish in the top 4. I don't think we will do the same again, because you are talking then about 84 points and being what's going to win the league this year? 87, 88 maybe. I don't think it's going to take 90 points. So if you're talking about Villa finishing 5 or 6 points off winning the title, I don't think we will do that again in the second half of the season, because of the further you go into the year, the more likely you are going to get worse results, and we're going to get back into the Conference League, and that will affect us and whatever else.
Well, 68 points, Dan, would have got you 4th last season.
Exactly. So I'm thinking my kind of points total, if you like, in terms of a drop off, would be that if we do the same again, we're 84. I think we'll finish on about 76. That puts us as being like the second half of the season being worse than the first half, but more than enough to finish in the top 4 and probably being with a shout of top 3.
Yeah, nice. Nice problems to
How
have.
far we've come, eh? I wonder what we were saying this time last year at the back end of 2022 when we'd just come back, haven't we, after the World Cup? We'd played Liverpool Boxing Day. I don't know who we would have played, like the equivalent fixture of Burnley, but this time last year we weren't going to be talking about top half even, maybe. Never mind top 6, top 4, top 2. So the progress we've made in 1
Probably only had
year is
about 5
frightening,
games.
really.
Yeah, he probably only managed about 5 or 6 games, hadn't he, before that?
Probably less than that, to be fair, in the league. You had Man United and maybe one other, then Liverpool Boxing Day, and then this fixture, whoever it was, this time last year. Do we play Spurs New Year's Day or something like that? Do we beat them away? I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, we were very early into the Unai Emery era, and nobody could have foreseen what we've seen this year. We hope that 2024 is even better. Saw John tweet earlier that Villa have won 32 games in all competitions in the calendar year, which is a record. Villa have never done that before. Again, we've said how many good sides Villa have had over the course of their entire history. To not win 32 games in a calendar year is some going, really. You'd think that one of the teams we've had in that time must have done that. So yeah, another record for Unai Emery, another positive record. Remember when we were talking about the days of like managers setting negative records? I'm going back years before we even did the podcast. Like, oh, we've been without however many games without defeat, so many minutes without scoring, all these different horrible statistics. Unai Emery only sets good records.
Different world. I'm not even sure I can remember a world before he managed us. To be honest, it doesn't bear thinking about.
Just to end then, as it's the 30th of December as we film this is our last podcast of 2023. As you mentioned earlier about like looking ahead to January in the transfer window, I think most people return to work on the 2nd of January. We're doing a podcast this week about January targets and all those kind of things. People love transfers, don't they? If you've got to set New Year's resolutions, and maybe we'll look back on this next year. Do you do New Year's resolutions, by the way? Is that a thing that you do? Maybe
Not
for a week
really.
or two and
I
then
just
drop
know
off?
that I've got no willpower. There's no point really.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you to set a New Year's resolution for Villa, one for yourself, like a personal goal for the year, and one for the podcast as well. So I did message you about this earlier, but I don't know whether you've actually given it any thought. So let's do the one for Villa first, and we'll open this up to the comments as well. You've got to set a New Year's resolution to Aston Villa. What are you going to tell them to do?
Christ.
This is difficult.
actually warm.
I
Go
think
on.
we've done this before, and either last year or the year before, mine was to start playing over the course of 90 minutes because we had periods, I don't know whether it was under Dean Smith or Gerrard, where we looked good for half a game, we looked good for 60 minutes, then threw it away or whatever. So I wanted Villa to compete over the course of 90 minutes. We've certainly seen that in some games, at least under Emery, maybe not all of them. But yeah, Villa being consistently better over the course of an entire game rather than only being good for one half. So Villa achieved my New Year's resolution, either last year or the year before. There's a comment that says win a trophy, literally anything, just a trophy. New Year's resolution.
Yeah, go with that one. I think probably repeating what I said earlier, just trying to limit the silly bookings and suspensions. Really, I think it's so key that we have everybody available. I do worry if you scratch beneath the surface of that squad too deep that what we've achieved so far could start to unravel. So I don't want us to shoot ourselves in the foot by doing anything silly, which is probably quite a negative thing to say when Villa's doing so many good things that I'm saying, well, cut out the silliness. But yeah, just making sure that we've got our best players available on the pitch as much as possible. Because I think if that is the case, I think what we've said about top four, I think it definitely can be a reality. I think the danger of a fall away is if we're having to rely on understudies more often than we need to.
Mine is, and I'm just Googling it to see if I can check out the actual date. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Is it 4th of March? I'm looking for the last time Villa lost at home, which was Crystal Palace, wasn't it? 1-0 was the start of that unbeaten run. I've got that as the 4th of March 2023. So my New Year's resolution is slightly more shorter than towards the end of the season. I want Villa to be unbeaten at home for an entire 12 months. So obviously we can't do the winning run now because of Sheffield United, but we've bounced back with a win today. So to do that, to get to March the 4th, we play Tottenham on March the 9th. So we'll need to be unbeaten for Newcastle, Man United and Nottingham Forest to be unbeaten at home for an entire 12 months. So that's my New Year's resolution for Villa. Be unbeaten for 12 months, which is some going. 3 more games for them to do that, which seems doable, I think, looking at those fixtures.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, I think you're selling yourself short there. I think why don't you just say it for the next 10 years?
I don't want to be too
Have a New
greedy.
Year's, have a resolution that lasts. Don't give up so easily.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution goes till March, which is probably most longer than most people goes. Kelvin says change the halftime entertainment. Sam Stokes says don't panic after a loss. Simon says winning a trophy would cement Unai. That's all his message says, but I imagine as a legend or something. David Starr says, and this is your personal one, Matt needs to phone David Platt. Is that what you're picking for your personal
Just seen
resolution?
that. Stephen Brown said Matt needs to ride that unicycle. I think the thing.
Yeah.
My one of my resolutions needs to be don't make stupid promises that you can't keep.
What about riding the unicycle and phoning David Platt at the same time for this year's?
It ain't going to happen, is it? I've got more chance of losing 5 stone and going to the gym every day, which won't happen either. I'll tell you one that's a New Year's resolution that's quite pressing at the moment. Don't rub my eyes after eating wasabi peas.
Oh, have you done that recently by any chance?
Yeah, I had an incident with that a couple of days ago. Yeah, and it was it wasn't particularly pleasant. So that's one I will stick to, I promise.
Have you picked anything for a personal one, or is that what you're going to go with?
I've done no prep, mate.
Unbelievable.
I do genuinely need
about 10 a.m. or something.
Yeah, I know. I do need to shed a bit of timber because I was struggling to tie my laces this morning. So I've overindulged quite a lot.
Yeah, that would be the one I'd pick. I need to lose some weight at some point. Bailey's lovely. Yeah, it's been a good Christmas. Let's just say that, and I need to get back on it in the new year. And I look back at some old episodes, and my face was slightly less puffy and round than it is now. So if I could lose a stone or so, that'd make a huge difference. Never mind the rest of it. So my personal one would be losing some kind of weight. Maybe go running again. I did the marathon this year. I couldn't do the marathon now. I need to get back in some kind of a half marathon, to be fair. I need to get back in some kind of shape for that. New Year's resolution for the podcast, very quickly, like plans for 2024 for us. Do you think of anything for that, or did you just bin that off as well?
I didn't know that was one of the ones, but I think we just need to try and get a good, strong connection, don't we? That's in terms of Wi-Fi, not in terms of our rapport. That couldn't be any stronger. Good colleague. I just... I don't know, mate. Like I said, I keep saying this, and I don't live up to it. Then I keep saying we need to get more guests on and stuff. And I think I can't remember which player it was. Don't say it, but I think you text me somebody, didn't you? Oh, you text me a number for a player a couple of weeks ago. So I've got to try and get hold of him as well.
Yeah.
I'm just full of it though, mate. I'm full of hollow promises, so I don't want to let people down more than I already do.
Sarko says New Year's resolution is to turn up on time. We were 1 minute late today. I am always wary of like setting a time for the show. Like on YouTube, you can put the time, but you have to pick a time. So I put 18:45. I think we came on at 18:46. So there's really very little we can do there, to be honest. We're like 10 minutes late. I know, yeah, unbelievable. My New Year's resolution for the podcast, like you, yes, get more guests on if we can. It's very easy to say, and it's very easy for people to ask us to do that. As Kelvin has literally said, more ex-player interviews. It's so hard to organise because you're asking them to do it out of the goodness of their hearts and Christmas cheer, and that doesn't really fly in April. It's very difficult to tie people down to specific times, whether it's online or in person. So yes, we'd love to do more, but yeah, some of that is out of our hands to a certain degree. Although when you've literally got people's phone numbers and you're not even ringing them, that is in your hands. So you can do a bit about that. Mine is, and I don't know how to phrase this really without sounding like a massive weirdo. I want to make some kind of like feature video for the podcast, some kind of like, like 45-minute documentary style kind of project thing that I'll work on for a long time and put real actual hard work into, and go and film it in out in the wild and go and speak to different people and put something together. So I'm giving myself a whole year to do that, basically, is what I'm setting it as a New Year's resolution. I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, I'll do it in January. But I don't know what on. If you've got suggestions, by the way, if you want to want us to look into certain Villa history or certain players' career paths and their kind of things, I'm open to suggestions, but I would love to make some kind of like documentary feature kind of show, if possible. That'd be mine.
Let's put a planning meeting in for that then for December. We can
throw it all together in the last month. No, I think we can do them. I think we can do them. We'll make a real effort this year to make the podcast bigger and better if possible. We'll call it a night there, Matt. If you've got nothing else to add,
No, just
got
what's your
something to add.
section about?
He's wheeled himself away.
No, what was your section when you flick through something? Here's something that I want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about, kind of thing.
Yeah, here's something I saw this week and wanted to share. Oh, what's this? I'm going to put you full screen for this so you can show us in all your glory.
I just found it in the loft the other week. It's the official merchandise catalogue 94.95. Just trying to find out what.
Oh, is this like merch, like what the kits and stuff were?
There's some of the leisure wear.
Oh yeah.
Even Jim Walker's rocking Attic's top there. Jim Barron, the old manager, with a decent tracky top down the bottom.
Tell you what, if you could find any of them on eBay now, like the actual ones from that time, that'd be worth a pretty penny. Let me tell you. If anyone's got one of them up the loft, could you not have found some of this merchandise from the loft?
Say again. Look at him in his waistcoat.
Who's that?
I don't know. It's just some random, but it's a fantastic piece of gear, isn't it?
I won't
get through all this. It just fascinated me. Let me just see if there's anything else. Oh, there's some quality in here, Dan.
Chat amongst yourselves while we're doing this.
As well.
Oh, yeah. Christ. What year was this, you say?
This is 94.95. I'd love somebody, I doubt it will happen, but I'd love somebody who's now a grown-up saying, I modelled for that. Yeah. I was,
Tell you what, I was just about to say that, but depending on the year, the kids that you just showed on that picture then would be like my age now. So if anyone is out there watching the podcast and you did some modelling for the Villa catalogue back in the 90s, do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we're going to call it there, Max. I can hear people listening to this going, what are they talking about? Matt is flicking through basically the Argos catalogue, which is full of Villa merch.
Look at that bike helmet there with the shades on. That's what you need.
Yeah, you could wear that when you're doing the unicycle.
Yeah, that might happen, hasn't it?
Yeah. Maybe in 2024, we'll see.
I'm done,
nice. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done for the year. I've got tomorrow off and New Year's Day, obviously. So our next podcast is likely to be Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. We will probably do some kind of preview show for the FA Cup, whether it's a short one or I don't know if there's a press conference for it with John and obviously Unai Emery. I'm unsure. But we will do an episode this week where we look at, like we said before, January signings and kind of reviewing the year. Just a quick plug for some other content before we go. We have done our 2023 review. Me, you, Rob Warner and John Townley did it, 10 days ago or so, just before Christmas. Obviously, that is still relevant now if you missed it over the Christmas break. We spoke about the entirety of 2023, Player of the Year, Goal of the Year, those kind of things. And released on Christmas Eve was our Christmas special, which is still, again, relevant. It's not just something you can watch at Christmas. We did a quiz, so you can test your Aston Villa knowledge by going back and checking that out. I think it's 45 minutes or so. Really good fun to record. And I've seen people sending their scores in. People have done pretty well, to be fair, even better than you guys there. Won't spoil where you came, Matt, but no surprise that people beat your score. Although I did say to you off air, you're normally the quiz master. I come bottom in yours because I'm rubbish with my memory as well. So to flip the roles this time, I was quiz master, and it actually turns out your memory's not great either. And now I know why you do the questions normally, because you're not great at your memory either.
I think we're just better at hosting, aren't we? That's what it is. Got that natural
just comes
flair.
Naturally to some of us, doesn't it? Just comes naturally. Right, thank you, Matt, for joining me on this podcast and throughout the year. We'll obviously have a couple of days break now before we come back with something fresh. Thanks everyone for watching along live on this one on the 30th of December. If you're catching up at some point, we appreciate you as well. Get involved in the YouTube comments, get involved with Spotify reviews, iTunes reviews, all those kind of things. If you can say nice things as well, that's very helpful and very much appreciated. Matt, thank you. Do you want to do the outro? Do you want to say bye? And I'll click the buttons.
Yes, Happy New Year to all of our beloved listeners and viewers. What a year it's been. Let's hope that 2024 is even better, and up the Baileys.
Nice one. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.